And Kevin Kline, I learned a lot about Kevin Kline. One thing I learned about Kevin Kline is that he likes to walk around with his rowboat. For me, I learned more than I needed to ever know about Mr.
Wow.
Kevin Kline.
At the end of the workday, Blake Lively's lawyers made a big move in her ongoing legal battle. They finally decided what to do with a controversial audio recording that Blake says contains serious statements made by Steve Sarowitz. In the recording, Steve allegedly talks about spending around $100 million to ruin her reputation. The recording was secretly made by clerk, a filmmaker who directed and wrote Empire Waste, a movie released by Wayfair Studios in late 2024. Blake's lawyers had this audio for months, but they never gave a copy of it to the court. Even though they mentioned it in earlier legal documents when asking for penalties and damages under California Civil Code 47.1, they never actually submitted the recording itself. The letter filed today revealed that neither the judge nor anyone at the courthouse had ever heard or seen the file. Earlier in the week, the judge noticed this missing piece and said that he had received several public requests for the audio. He reminded the lawyers that if the court's records show the audio as unsealed, they must figure out a way to release it properly to the public. In response, Blake's legal team and Wayfair Studios attorneys sent a joint letter explaining how they plan to handle it. They said that, according to the court's order from October 15, 2025, both parties agreed to give the clerk's office physical CDs containing the recording. Anyone from the public who wants to hear it can request a copy from the clerk. The court system cannot handle large audio files directly, so this CD method is their solution. The lawyers also promise to provide enough copies for anyone who asks and to deliver more if needed. While that may sound like progress, it raises a big question. Why didn't they do this from the start? If they had provided the CD months ago, the judge could have listened to it before making decisions. Without a physical copy, how is the judge supposed to review what was said in the audio? There's also another issue. Before any recording can be used in court, it needs to be verified as genuine. The lawyers must show proof that it hasn't been changed, that it's authentic, and that there's a clear record of who handled it from the time it was made until it reached the courtroom. Usually, they would also submit a transcript of the audio, along with a sworn statement explaining how it was recorded and stored. None of this seems to have been done yet. Clerk only said that she made the recording, but she never explained how. Did she use her phone? A voice recorder? Was it a Zoom meeting? Without knowing those details, the court can't confirm that the file is reliable. Even if the public gets to hear it, that doesn't mean it can be used as evidence during the trial. The court will still need to decide whether it's legally acceptable and whether it's relevant to the case. Interestingly, Wayfair Studios is not opposing the release of the audio, which could suggest they believe it's real or that they have nothing to hide. Still, for now, the recording is only an exhibit used to support Blake's motion for damages. It hasn't been officially accepted as trial evidence. The judge also mentioned that this issue overlaps with another request from the New York Times, but he made it clear that the timing isn't right for any final decisions yet. In short, while the public might soon hear the recording, there's still a long way to go before it plays any real role in court. Right now, there are still some unresolved motions in Blake Lively's case, especially those related to legal fees. The judge has asked every side involved to respond and explain which motions are still pending and whether those motions mean the case is still active. He wants this information before deciding if he can officially close the part of the case involving the New York Times. According to the judge, the Times lawyers seem to have misunderstood something. They believe that their case cannot be fully closed until a final decision is made in Blake Lively's main lawsuit. However, the judge clarified that when two cases are combined, like this one and Lively's case, each still keeps its own legal identity. This means that one case can reach a final ruling and be appealed separately from the other. The Supreme Court has also made this clear in the past. Even when cases are merged for convenience, each one can still end on its own timeline. The judge is now asking all sides to explain why he should or should not issue an official order about this. He also wants them to address whether the open motions about fees prevent the case from being considered final. Once everyone submits their responses, he'll decide whether the New York Times can be released from the case completely. If he does that, it might also affect the other parties since their cases are tied together under the same consolidation. In most federal cases like this, courts prefer to deal with motions about attorney fees, sanctions, or damages after everything else has been settled. However, because the New York Times is not as closely tied to the other defendants, it's possible the judge will treat their part differently. We'll have to wait to see what each side argues. Meanwhile, the situation with the audio recording continues to cause confusion. The judge has ordered Blake's team to provide a physical copy of the CD by Monday, October 20th, 2025. It's surprising that her lawyers didn't hand it over months ago when they first submitted the related motion. Now, instead of making it easy for the court and the public to access, they plan to give the clerk a CD, and the clerk will make copies for anyone who requests one. And then find a way to play the CD, something many people can't even do anymore since most computers no longer have CD drives. For example, someone living outside New York, like in Minnesota, would have to either travel there or wait a long time for the CD to arrive by mail. Because of that, it's likely that someone local will pick up a copy early next week and share it online, possibly through social media or Reddit. Blake's team could have avoided all of this by simply releasing the audio digitally. They could have uploaded it to a secure website and made it accessible to everyone at once. However, they might be holding back because of legal concerns. Since the recording may have been made without proper consent, there are still questions about whether releasing it publicly could violate privacy or wiretapping laws. In the end, the case remains tangled in technicalities and slow procedures. The judge wants clarity about what's still pending, the public wants to hear the audio, and Blake's team is taking a cautious, old-fashioned route that only adds to the delays. By handing the audio recording to the court clerk, Blake Lively's legal team is removing themselves from any direct involvement in how it's shared with the public. Once the clerk has it, the responsibility for distributing the audio is no longer theirs. This way, they can avoid being blamed for any possible legal issues surrounding how the recording was made or released. Still, it's puzzling that they didn't give this evidence to the court when they first submitted their motion. It raises the question of whether this was ever meant to be a serious legal move or simply a publicity effort meant to get attention. Normally, when lawyers submit a motion in a case, they include all the related evidence on the same day. The court depends on that information to review the facts and make decisions. Keeping evidence out of the court's hands is highly unusual and makes it difficult for the judge to evaluate the claims being made. The judge and court staff don't automatically have access to discovery materials, the evidence exchanged privately between the two sides during the pretrial process. Discovery is shared only between the attorneys and not with the judge unless it becomes part of an official motion or exhibit. Evidence that will later be shown in court must go through a review process to determine if it's allowed. This process, called a motion in limine, lets the court decide what evidence can or cannot be presented during the trial. Because of that, the judge can't review or rely on materials that haven't been properly submitted. If something is labeled attorney's eyes only, even the opposing parties don't get to see or hear it until the court decides to unseal it. That seems to be what happened here. Until the audio was officially unsealed, none of the other people involved in the case, like Steve Sarowitz or Bellin, had access to it. Even now, it's unclear whether they've received an actual copy of the recording. The only people who might have heard it are the lawyers, and even they may not have a physical version yet. So, despite all the public discussion about this mysterious audio, it remains largely unseen and unheard by anyone outside the legal teams. What makes the situation even stranger is the choice to use a CD in 2025. With so many easy digital options available, sending a physical disc feels outdated and unnecessary. It almost seems like an intentional obstacle, making it harder for people to access the file quickly. Still, the judge has ordered that the CD be delivered to the court by Monday, and once that happens, it's expected that someone will obtain a copy and post it online soon after. Rumors are already spreading online that someone named Clark, who's active on Reddit, plans to go to the courthouse early in the week to get the recording. If that's true, the audio will likely surface on the internet not long after it's handed over. As for what's actually on the recording, that remains a mystery. Blake's legal team claims it proves there was a plan to damage her reputation, a deliberate effort to destroy her career. Whether the audio truly shows that or not is still unknown. Even if it becomes public, it may not be accepted as real evidence in court until it's authenticated and confirmed to be legally obtained. For now, everyone is waiting to see if the recording really contains the explosive proof Blake says it does, or if it turns out to be something far less dramatic. Leave a comment below, give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an update.